Here with the Hardway HQ Hall of Fame, our goal has been simple: to induct men that have more than earned the right to be recognized for their achievements. Starting last November with the induction of former WWF President Jack Tunney, we have set out to change the course of who deserves true immortalization in the world. In this case, this edition evolves around our second induction into the Hardway HQ Hall of Fame, former New York Met great, number 20, Howard HoJo Johnson. For 7 years, this man rocked the blue and orange like a true warrior. He set out to simply play a game that he loved since a little boy. During the dark days of the Mets after the 1986 World Series championship, HoJo became a superstar in every sense of the word. Yet, he acted and came across as a simple, everyday guy. Just wanted to play the game he loved. That is what made me a fan of his from age 5. Over the years, he has not just made an impact in Major League Baseball, but he has also helped players better their swings as a coach, on top of helping establish one of the all-time great Mets in David Wright. HoJo was a father, a husband, a vastly underrated baseball player, and most of all, a good man. It is my honor and privilege to induct the former Detroit Tiger, Colorado Rocky, Chicago Cub, and New York Met player and current hitting coach for the Seattle Mariners, Howard HoJo Johnson, into the Hardway HQ Hall of Fame on February 11th, 2015. How do you like that, folks, ladies and gentlemen? Welcome to the Hardway HQ Hall of Fame induction episode of Howard HoJo Johnson. I'm John Harder, and it's indeed an honor and privilege to have you here as well. Ladies and gentlemen, we're going to have some fun. We have some clips to play from HoJo's career, similar to the Jack Tunney episode. We're going to have a blast. I am so excited to do this. HoJo's been I've been a diehard fan of this gentleman since the age of 5, but I shouldn't have to reestablish what I said on a previous edition of the Hardway podcast. September 17th, 2014, I did a Professional 3 episode regarding Howard Johnson and what he meant to my life as a role model and an inspiration. We're going to take it back here. We're going to play the clip on how HoJo inspired me. Enjoy this flashback from 9/17/14 of the Hardway podcast. First things first, if anybody knows about my Mets fandom, my New York Mets love that I've had over the past several years, there's only one guy that I really looked up to and dedicated my love of the Mets to, and it is Howard Johnson, a.k.a. HoJo. For those that don't know who I'm discussing here, Howard Johnson has been an inspiration of mine since I was 5 years old. I remember watching a Mets game that my dad had on in the living room of my old apartment in Glendale, Queens, New York. And I remember watching, and I saw Howard Johnson get a double. And for some reason, I always remember HoJo, because I think everyone called him HoJo. I asked my dad who that was. He said it was HoJo, and for some reason, I was hooked. And a couple weeks later, at the age of 5, my dad bought me my first ever Kenner starting lineup, and it was of Howard Johnson. And ever since then, I was hooked. I was hooked on HoJo, and I became, in my opinion, in my mind, HoJo's number one fan. I got autographed baseballs. I got an autographed photo from Leon St. Giovanni here in the Hardway Podcast Man Cave of Howard Johnson. I have I rebought a new starting lineup of HoJo. Hell, the Barb even bought me a Howard Johnson baseball jersey for my birthday last year, one of my prized possessions. And I've worn it to every Mets game this year. So that's my dedication to Howard Johnson. And right now he's a bench coach, not a bench coach. He's one of the coaches, a hitting coach, instructor for the Seattle Mariners team. And I hope they make the playoffs because HoJo's done a great job working with them. And obviously I am a big fan of Howard Johnson. And for those that don't know much about HoJo, I'm going to give you some stats right now. And I'm talking baseball here on Hardway HQ. I think I might actually play, I'm going to see if I can install it right now, the New York Mets theme song underneath some of the stats. I'm going to talk about Howard Johnson. He was traded to the Mets before the 1985 season from the Detroit Tigers, who the year before won the World Series. So obviously you get a little bit of championship stability right there with Howard Johnson. He was a bench player. He was paying his dues, working his way up the ladder as a rookie. for those that don't realize this, he was a two-time All-Star in 1989 and 1991. In fact, I actually own a Howard Johnson 1989 All-Star card from Topps. Obviously, what other card could I get? Topps baseball cards definitely think of old school, and I wish they were more popular now, but obviously technology's definitely killed the era of baseball cards. In 1991, he was the home run champion with 38 home runs, the most for a switch hitter in National League history, before Todd Hundley broke it in 1996. Not only broke the switch hitting record, but also broke the home run record for the catcher with 41, which was broken a few years later by who I am not too sure. He's also a three-time member of the 30-30 Club, which was 30 home runs and 30 steals, 1987, 1989, and 1991. I don't know if a lot of people also know this, and probably only I do because I pay attention. 1986, Game 6, when the Mets won the historical 10th inning with 2 outs, and nobody was able to get out after that. Gary Carter started the whole thing. Mookie Wilson ended it with the roller through Buckner's legs. Not a lot of people know this, but did you know the man who was on deck, who was going to bat after Mookie Wilson, was none other than Howard Johnson? That's right. That's nerdism at its finest. I can just keep going on and on. Here's a little tidbit that no one else really knows about. Actually, that I remember vividly. 1995, his last season in baseball, Howard Johnson was a Chicago Cub. And I remember in 1995, I was watching the 5 o'clock news, and at 5:30, Warner Wolf was doing sports. And he's talking about, let's go out to Chicago here. Let's go to the videotape. And I can't do a Warner Wolf impression for my life, but it was incredible. And I saw Howard Johnson in a Chicago Cubs uniform hit a game-winning home run to end the game. And to me, that was phenomenal because Howard Johnson, major inspiration of mine. He still had something left in the ticker after an awful 1992-1993 season with the Mets. You know, he had an All-Star year 91, didn't do that well in 92 or 93. He was let go, and he went to try to find himself in Colorado and in Chicago. And Chicago's where he ended up. 97 tried a comeback year, didn't work out too well, but Howard Johnson somehow became a great hitting instructor for the Mets. You know, he worked with David Wright exclusively. Definitely made a lot of plays in the minor league systems. With Brooklyn Cyclones, I remember he actually managed the Cyclones, so there's a little did you know as well. And now Howard Johnson working for the Seattle Mariners. But there's 2 other things that I doubt you guys know about Howard Johnson. For one thing, he was the innovator of the rally cap back in 1986. He's the man who started that craze with the franchise, turning his head inside out, doing different things with the hat to try to sustain a rally, try to make a comeback for his team whenever they're down a couple runs. And HoJo found a way. It worked, and that's why the Mets won 108 games in 86. Personal opinion. Howard Johnson, an innovator, very superstitious guy. And one other thing that he was famous for was the hot foot. You know, he was a sidekick of Roger McDowell, a legendary prankster in baseball. And Howard Johnson was the chief technical officer of Roger McDowell's hot foot. And basically the hot foot's a big-time prank that they like to pull in 86. And it kind of took notice throughout the 80s and 90s. Definitely gone away. It's definitely passé with the corporate atmosphere of the way baseball is now. Everything's so by the book and standard. No fun allowed. Bums. But Howard Johnson definitely has been an innovator, to say the very least. And I actually found a clip from the old team video of 1986, the Mets talking about their year in review. And ladies and gentlemen, I have an exclusive clip from that where Roger McDowell and Howard Johnson talk about the innovation of the hot foot. So I'm going to play this clip now. We're going to check it out. When we come back with the Hardway Podcast, we'll take a quick commercial break. When we come back, I'm going to go to number 2 of my inspirational athletes, exclusively on the JohnHarder.com. Check out the hot foot clip.
Hello, this is Roger McDowell. This is my assistant, Howard Johnson. Hi. On this episode, we'll introduce you to the wonderful world of hot foot.
We also want to say one thing. This is not for you kids out there to try. This is done by experienced professionals.
We don't talk a lot while we're preparing.
Serious business.
It's kind of like surgery.
Surprise is the perpetrator. Yes.
Or the perpetrator.
Yes.
The perpetratree. And we have gum in our mouth. It's already being prepared. Move quickly. Sometimes we have to go underneath the bench. St. Louis is particularly good for that because the bench is up high. It's like crawling in the rice fields.
Yes.
The patties.
That's amazing. How does he do it? How does he do it?
Mirrors.
Mirrors.
Now you got it. Very good hot flame.
Let me show you my way.
Okay.
I take the gum right out of my mouth. Yeah, I know it's a little gross. It's a little gross, a little wet and sticky, but if it, it's your own gum, it's no big deal. I think they'll give us a raise for this.
If you want to know how to do a hot foot, how to set somebody's back of their shoe ablaze, HoJo and Roger McDowell are your guys, but obviously Howard Johnson, my number one most influential, inspirational athlete that basically molded my life and someone I wanted to be like. So Howard Johnson, thank you very much for that true inspiration. Thank you very much for checking that original clip out from the Professional 3 episode of the Hard Way podcast on September 17th, 2014. Again, HoJo's been a major influence on my life. I mentioned a lot of his statistics, a lot of things he accomplished properly and correctly and professionally. The man's a class act. And the hot foot, by the way, is still awesome. I've actually tried it on Miss Monica several times. Fan-freaking-tastic. I dig it. Well, obviously, in this episode of the Hardway HQ Hall of Fame, as we induct HoJo into the Hardway HQ Hall of Fame, throughout the episode, I'm going to be playing clips of Howard Johnson and his moments through the media and reported from the Mets broadcast, Major League Baseball, all this different stuff. I have found clips via YouTube. Thank God for the YouTube page. It's really helped me out tenfold in setting this whole thing up. And I'm going to have clips from Hardway HQ personalities, statements from Hardway HQ personalities. It's going to be a whole lot of fun. The first clip I do want to play is from Howard Johnson's year in 1987. For those who don't really realize or understand the valuable nature of what HoJo brought to the team after the 1986 World Series, when he became the everyday third baseman. Not only that, he became a major influence at the plate and replacing Ray Knight. No small feat. Ray Knight, a class act. One of the main reasons why we won the 1986 World Series MVP. In fact, it's again a tough job for HoJo to fill, but he did it so magnificently, where he finished off with a phenomenal year at the plate. And here is some highlights from that year. Thanks to YouTube for helping me alongside this Howard Johnson induction to the Hardway HQ Hall of Fame.
They would inch even closer with Howard Johnson untying a game in the 10th.
Well, hit left center. This might make the seats. Home run Johnson. 6-4 New York. Oh, baby.
Disbelievers aside, HoJo had come through in a big way. And 3 outs later, the Mets had 2. The next night, the sweep was complete, but not before some good old-fashioned intrigue involving Howard Johnson's bat, which the Cardinals and some other teams felt was giving HoJo an unfair advantage.
And let's go ahead deep to right. It could be gone. It is going goodbye. Howard Johnson with a long home run, and the Mets lead it by a score of 5-3.
Whitey Herzog out of the dugout immediately, and Tony Pena wants the bat that Howard Johnson used, and he's going to complain
Hojo's back. But in 1987, there was no taking away his accomplishments.
His speed. Look at him go. And Howard Johnson does it again.
All I do is try and go out every day and do the best I can.
Howard Johnson, payback, out of here.
Well, here's a little bundle of dynamite.
One of the major surprises of this 1987 baseball season has been the play of Howard Johnson.
Howard Johnson has gotten a lot of key hits. Don't you talk about bringing smiles to the faces of his teammates. A little looper to center, and that's going to tie it. 3-3 ball game. Johnson comes through. Well hit deep right field. Out of here. Howard Johnson, the Mets leading 4-3.
He joined a rather exclusive club. 30 home runs, 30 stolen bases.
And they're standing all over this ballpark and applauding the season that Johnson has had.
With Johnson.
Again, HoJo had a phenomenal 1987 for the Mets. Vastly underrated in my eyes when it comes to that entire team's history under Frank Cashin's regime. HoJo, vastly underrated at the plate, did a great job. But obviously with every HoJo classic moment, there's been some downward classic moments. The one in particular, 1988, when he was the last out of the NLCS when the Mets played the Dodgers, struck out to Hershiser to end it. Still a heartbreaking moment, and a lot of people say HoJo's playoff performance, the reason why the Mets lost, but that's not here nor there. Howard Johnson got them there in 1988. Might not have had the greatest year possible, but in 1989, HoJo truly rebounded and had an incredible 1989, where he made his first All-Star team, and he had a little bit of shenanigans with the throwing of the shoulder and errors in the field, but he played it off in typical HoJo fashion, and he did a phenomenal job. Here are highlights from 1989, and ladies and gentlemen, we're going to have a surprise from the Hardway Hotline coming up to talk about a little HoJo history, exclusively on the Hardway HQ Hall of Fame induction of Howard Johnson.
Spring, Howard Johnson was all bundled up in trade rumors, and his arm hurt. For a while, every ground ball hit in HoJo's direction turned into an adventure.
Johnson, 8 errors in spring training, 7 caught throws. By the looks of things, you can't really say that Howard Johnson's arm is healthy.
HoJo's arm may not have been healthy at the start, but it was healing fast.
Ground ball to third, tough chance. Johnson has it. Oh, a quick one. And then Johnson gets his first chance tonight. He handles it as far as the throwing part. Perfect. He's giving him a big cheer. Look at it. Look at his head off. All right. More discussion about his lack of his arm than Venus de Milo.
His arm problems ended, and HoJo was off and running to the kind of season that every player dreams about. Johnson did it all, in the field, at the plate, and on the bases, as he ran those trade rumors into the ground, then made the All-Star team for the first time. During the wild ride of '89, HoJo hit in 7 different spots and slammed a home run in each one. Along the way, he set 4 new Mets records, had 6 personal bests for a season, and tied another with 36 home runs. HoJo had everybody thinking long ball. Johnson's hot streak lasted all season as impressive numbers kept piling up. And he has just set another New York Mets club record. That is his 77th extra base hit of the season. Corner goes, the pitch is a strike. Throw to second, not nearly in time. And Howard Johnson has his 30th stolen base of the year. This one hit deep to right center. It could be home run number 29. And it is. Howard Johnson is still the only 2020 man in Major League Baseball. And he is now one home run away from becoming a 30-30 man.
This one hit deep to right field, way back. Marshall with the warning track. It is gone. Goodbye. Howard Johnson joins the 30-30 club for the second time.
Hard ball deep to center field. This ball's going to be out of the ballpark. Howard Johnson, 3-run home run, 101 RBIs. In 1989, the New York Mets.
Well, ladies and gentlemen, it's indeed my privilege and honor to have across from me on the Hard Bay Hotline the one, the only fellow Mets fan and grizzled vet of the wrestling business. Good news, Hughes. Welcome back.
I don't know why I'm here, John.
I don't know why you are either, but you decided on the Hard Way Hotline to surprise.
I didn't call you.
Really?
I didn't call you. You begged for me to be here.
You have contract obligations to the Hardway HQ podcasting network, and one of the obligations is at least one piece of notoriety towards anybody put into the Hardway HQ Hall of Fame, and Howard Johnson is that man.
I'm just here so I don't get fined.
Oh yeah, and if you don't want to come come back to the mothership, we'll do.
I'm just here because I won't get fined.
No, that's great. Well, do you have any HoJo stories, any HoJo memories, anything?
I once stayed at his hotel. Pretty comfortable. When I was on the road when I was in the territories. I stayed at Howard Johnson for 2 months.
Territories died when you were born, for Christ's sake.
That's not. We're not talking about that. So that's what I get about Howard Johnson. Thank you, folks. I gotta go.
No, thank you very much. Good news, Hughes. You brought your astute analysis to the podcast for this Hardway HQ Hall of Fame deal. I am appreciative for what you've done. Well, later on in the episode, sorry for that bad little internet connection with me and Good News Hughes. Obviously, his Western Union style of voice messaging and the whole thing, it wasn't working out too well. We got as much as we could out of him. He didn't want to give much. Thanks for the hotel reference, you jerk. Not the same representative, not the same deal. But later on in the podcast, we will have some written statements, some written memories of HoJo. We will discuss them in a little bit. But I do want to get into the absolute fact that in 1991, Howard Johnson had probably his greatest season statistically and in the record books as a member of the New York Mets, and it was on October 6th, 1991, where he collected his 117th RBI, besting Will the Thrill Clark in San Francisco to become not just the runs batted in champion of Major League Baseball in 91, but also the home run champion with 38 home runs, actually having the Mets record for switch hit home runs by a switch-hitted batter. Did that make sense? Probably not. But as a man who could bat from both sides of the plate, he had the most home runs until Todd Hundley in '96, like I mentioned earlier in the beginning clip of the Professional 3 clip. But in 1991, HoJo breaks the record, and this is from MLB.com, the YouTube page. Thank God I get to hear the sweet melodic tones of Ralph Kiner. Here you go, ladies and gentlemen.
Johnson tied for the RBI leadership with 116. He's tied with Will Clark. Johnson gets an RBI, so he now has the leadership at 117, and it will be up to Clark to beat him. Good base hit by Howard Johnson, his second run batted in this series.
Well, ladies and gentlemen, I am so stoked to find that clip. thanks to MLB.com's YouTube page. And HoJo was the home run champion, the RBI champion in 91, two-time All-Star because of that year. I feel like just for that season alone, he deserves to be in the Mets Hall of Fame. But however, we are inducting him into the Hardway HQ Hall of Fame. I do have some written statements, some text messages I received, and a tweet on inducting Howard Johnson on today's date, February 11th, 2015. First, from my angry Mets guy brethren, LSG Leon St. Giovanni. Here's his statement he sent to me exclusive. You find him on Twitter at Leon St. Giovanni. I'm proud to see Howard Johnson get inducted into the Hardway HQ Hall of Fame. He does nothing but the best for his induction. Although John always found ways to immortalize him on Angry Mets guys with that dreaded blowjo for my HoJo to the Mets Scott Butch. Still talking about that. John truly appreciated what HoJo brought to baseball, as do I. Congrats to Howard Johnson. We hope to see you further your success in all sentiments in baseball. That is from Leon St. Giovanni. And for the record, Mr. Johnson, if you are listening, we hope you are. The blowjob for my HoJo, just a gimmick. Just a joke with a stuffed monkey. You know, no bestiality, no stuffed animals were harmed during the whole Angry Mets Guys. YouTube.com/Angry Mets Guys to see what exactly LSG is discussing. The history involving Butch. Always and forever, right? The Barb, Hardway HQ chairwoman, and my love of my life. Valentine's Day is coming up this Saturday, so happy Valentine's Day, my love. Early. She writes this text message to me, courtesy of my personal phone number, which I will not be divulging on air. Congrats to HoJo. You should talk about how you try to grow a mustache as great as his. However, you have a prepubescent beard. Even my own girlfriend gets in on the action. I just want to state that HoJo had a sweet mustache. I tried to grow one out as soon as I started being able to grow facial hair. It took me 28 years, and it never grew as much as whiskers. So my attempt at being HoJo with at least a sweet stash did not work out too well. Thank you, dear, for your astute analysis involving HoJo. And also, I have received a tweet from the Dan Barry. Dan Barry, my former rival in Beyond Wrestling during 2012, during the whole Team Tremendous Professional Revolution rivalry, writes, and this is, and I quote, let me see, I got to pull it up here, folks. His hotels are expletive. Well, Dan Barry, let me tweet you back right now. Hold on. I tweeted back at Dan Barry stating, I prefer their international breakfasts, but their beds are kind of lumpy, because he's talking about the hotel. Why does everyone keep comparing this guy to a damn hotel? Dan Barry's response, I prefer a diner and a good night's sleep. God, he doesn't own a hotel chain, ladies and gentlemen. If he did, he'd be a billionaire, and I'd be so pro HoJo in the financial game, because I'd hope to get a little bit of cash. But he's not, and he isn't, so therefore, why me? Well, thank God I have some sanity coming up next, as I will have Ed Scanlon from the Hardcore BF podcast. We will be talking a little bit about Howard Johnson for a few moments, but at this time, I'm going to play a quick clip from 1992. Apparently, this was broadcast on a WCBS-2, Channel 2 New York, television broadcast involving Howard Johnson moving to center field. Interesting on my end. Let's check this thing out. Hope you enjoy it.
Elsewhere, Memphis State and Cincinnati were winners. Tonight, more controversy following the latest reports of an alleged sex scandal involving the New York Mets. Citing what they call slanderous attacks aimed at members of the ball club, all of the Met players have signed a petition stating that they will no longer speak to any members of the media. As for tonight's game, the Mets edged the Yankees 4-3. In the eighth inning, with the Mets leading 2-1, third baseman Bill Pecota hit a shot into the gap in left center. Howard Johnson came in to score, and speedster Rodney McRae raced all the way home from first, beating the throw to the plate. The Mets held on to win it 4-3. If you saw tonight's game, you noticed the Mets made many changes in the offseason. As Rock Road reports, one of the major moves is in center.
Center field. It's been a problem position for the Mets ever since they let Mookie Wilson and Lenny Dykstra get away.
Miller can't come up with it.
But now with the acquisition of new Met Bobby Bonilla in right and the switch of speedster Vince Coleman to his natural position in left, the Mets feel they have the solution. The outfield experiment with former infielder Howard Johnson has begun.
Look at me, I can be center field.
I'm looking forward to playing center. I think that it'll be a big challenge for me. I have all the natural ability to do it. It's just a matter of going out there and getting used to doing it.
You just hope that the transition goes well for HoJo, and you want things to go smooth for him because you know he's got the speed to do it, but it takes a lot of experience and practice.
Last year, HoJo also became the first player in history to join the 30-30-30 club. Unfortunately, that last number represented his league-leading 31 errors. The Mets hope a change of scenery out here in center field changes his fielding fortunes as well. The man responsible for turning HoJo from an infielder into a center fielder is former outfielder Veda Pinson.
The main thing about it is to get his confidence out there that it's no problem. You know, if you make a mistake, hey, we all make mistakes. You know, you're only human. But the big thing about it is the confidence of getting out there and just getting relaxed. That's it.
Being able to see everything from center field, I think, I'm saying that I'm going to pick it up right away. I'm going to make my mistakes, of course, but I think through the spring I'll really get a good handle on it.
So the Mets turn their center of attention to Howard Johnson.
Oh, put me in cold. I'm ready to play today.
He is determined to do it out there, and I'll tell you what, you know, a lot of people say, what would you do if it doesn't work? I said, well, we're not going about it that way. We think it's going to work, and we think he might be exceptional out there.
And that's sports for tonight and this week, and I look upon all of this as a learning experience.
Now, I actually went, and before we go into our my little interview with Ed Scanlon on the Hardway HQ Hardway Hotline, I looked up that little scandal that they were talking about, and basically Mets players, including Doc Gooden and David Cohn of all people, were accused of like some sexual scandals and harassment charges and rape deal and whatnot, which is disrespectful because those charges were ultimately proved unfounded. But what the Mets did, and HoJo was a part of this, they signed a 1-week blackout from the media. They wouldn't talk to media. They wouldn't talk to anybody for a week. And the ultimate deal to come of this was they didn't want to be disrespected anymore. And they ended the media blackout when they played their first spring training game, one of the final spring training games before the season, at Camden Yards when it just opened up in Baltimore. So there's a little did you know fact. But it just goes to show the team mentality that HoJo has, one for all and all for one. Even on that 92 squad, even though it didn't turn out as well as he'd hoped, playing in center field, he hurt his wrist in 92. He made good money on top of it. But 93, he didn't do as well, and he wound up going to I'm going to Colorado, Chicago. Didn't work out great there, and he ultimately retired and started doing coaching deals. At this time, we're going to take it quickly to the Hardway Hotline. Stay tuned for a quick moment, please.
Well, thank God I have some sanity here on the Hardway HQ Hall of Fame episode for Howard Johnson, as I have Hardcore BF podcast teammate, colleague, buddy, and my best friend, Ed Scanlon. Thank you for coming on to talk some HoJo.
Hello. It's my honor to talk about the great HoJo.
I know, I'm happy you're here. Normally everyone so far, they really don't remember Howard Johnson too well, and I'm praying and I'm hoping and I'm pleading and I'm begging. You got any HoJo memories?
I have a couple HoJo memories.
Thank God somebody's got a great HoJo memory. All right, let me hear your first one, buddy.
Well, I remember he was on deck when the ball went through Buckner's legs.
Yes, he was.
I don't know if anyone brought that up.
I'm not going to go there, but continue.
Did somebody bring that up already?
Me.
You did, of course you did. You're the only other person that would know that, right?
I'm a sick son of a gun, you know what I'm saying?
I also remember he used to have a sweet beard. Everyone talks about the mustache, but he had a pretty sweet beard, too, in the day.
He did have a sweet beard, and I think I went the topic with, I didn't talk to anybody about this, I wanted to. He had an awesome mullet. Like, he was, like, balding up top a little bit, but he had, like, the full party in the back. So, like, It was awesome, like the mullet and beard combo. He looked like a legit stud.
Hey man, that was the style back in the day.
I know, man. I'm trying to bring it back now, but you know the deal. Haley's not for it.
Tell you what, man, I really do miss those old uniforms from the '80s, man.
With the pinstriped blue and orange.
Yeah, man. I'm like, I was just looking. Like I said, I do have a HoJo picture in my dwelling. You do as well.
Thank God. I thought I was the only one. Jesus.
But let me tell you, those old without the buttons, just a straight up.
Yeah, they don't make baseball uniforms like that anymore, dude. They don't.
No, I mean, don't get me wrong. I actually like the buttons better. But like when I see the old '80s Mets uniforms with the orange and blue stripes going down the shoulders and then the pinstripe, oh, man, anything better than those? I don't think so.
I honestly don't think so. And I think they were a pretty uniform, especially for that time period. They fit perfect. And then again, they mentioned with the buttons going back. And you don't really see baseball uniforms like that. You really don't. And I think everything's all buttoned down now.
Yeah.
Frustrating.
Some of them do them fine, but like I said, I've seen some of the old '80s style jerseys that were just hideous. But for some reason with the Mets, it just worked.
On a side note, don't you think those Atlanta Braves unis were completely booty with the I hated the blue with the Braves, especially like down in Atlanta.
Oh, that light blue, right?
Yeah, like the light blue. Woof.
No thanks.
God awful, but I'm happy someone else appreciates the little minute things involving HoJo. What are you laughing at?
Hey, I'm laughing because you appreciate me.
I do, and I'm not laughing, but I appreciate that you appreciate that I appreciate you. So that's always great. Anything else? Any other HoJo memories, buddy?
Oh man, I tell you, like I said, I think the first couple of Met games I ever went to when I was a kid, HoJo was playing the hot corner. I remember the number 20. Like I said, everyone says Barry Sanders may think 20, but I was a HoJo 20.
Thank God. Honestly, I look at HoJo's the reason why I wanted to wear 20 in Little League, but sadly the numbers didn't go that high, so I had to sacrifice and go for what's 20 divided by 2. I'm still struggling on that answer, but I found out it was 10. But what was the one moment I really wanted to talk about? Like, did you know, actually, and I didn't talk to really anybody about this, did you know HoJo was the man? He's the man behind David Wright. He's basically developed them since he came up.
I did know that. I knew that because I'm a big David Wright mark.
And I find it great that, if David Wright ultimately becomes, next to Tom Seaver's, the greatest Mets of all time, we can always say HoJo had a great hand in developing the awesome talent of David Wright. So,
Well, David Wright hasn't shied away from letting people know that HoJo's had a huge mark on his career.
Oh, I know that, man. And you know what's... I definitely know that. And you know what else bothers me? That I remember when I tried originally pushing... You remember the deal when I tried pushing the HoJo for Mets Hall of Fame deal. And
yes, I signed your petition.
I appreciate that. One of the 17. And I tried, and everyone was like, no, he'll and all these serious Mets fans, no, he'll never get in. No, he doesn't deserve it. He wasn't like a super... He has the stats, and he's still top 10 to this day. It boggles my mind.
Absolutely. He's a 30-30 guy? Come on, how do you not freaking appreciate somebody like that?
Right, and with something, if you have the guts to put in Doc and Darryl after everything they did to and for the franchise, I think HoJo, especially during the dark days of the late '80s when the Mets started going downhill after '86, he deserves that slot.
Yes, he does.
But you know what though? He's in my Hardway HQ Hall of Fame, and he'll always be immortalized here on the JohnHarder.com. So I'm very excited about that. I'm happy to be part of it.
You should be. I'm glad you're finally giving HoJo his due.
Now look,
somebody said
exactly, and you know what? Honestly, I do have the trophy. I just want him to accept the trophy. I can send it to him. If he's too creeped out by me, it's okay. I could deal with it. People have been creeped out by me before.
All right. Be the first.
I'm laughing at your response. You're like, hey. Oh, God, Eddie. You make me laugh. You make me laugh. Any last words before I get on with the episode?
I just want to say that Howard Johnson one of the best nicknames in sports. HoJo, such a sweet nickname.
Yeah.
It's perfectly with him.
Everybody else got these long monikers nowadays. They got like the Big Aristotle, King James, HoJo's just simple and to the point because it actually matches with the gentleman's name. So
exactly.
I agree with you. And Eddie, thank you always for stopping by, and I will see you technically tomorrow for a recording of the Hardway HQ's Hardcore BF podcast. I'll see you tomorrow, buddy.
Oh, can't wait.
Thank you.
Take it easy.
Mm-hmm.
Speaking of David Wright, HoJo became a coach, like we alluded to earlier, and with the conversation with Ed. Thank you, Ed, by the way. And we discussed how Howard Johnson became a coach within the Mets organization. He actually was a co-champion of the 2001 Brooklyn Cyclones season. He's a co-champion, so technically he won a title for Brooklyn. And he worked his way up to the major league level, first coaching first base and wound up becoming the hitting coach of the Mets, ultimately being let go in 2011, taking a year off. And then he started in the Seattle Mariners organization. Now he's working with Robinson Cano and the rest of the Seattle Mariners ball club. Now, HoJo, a great coach. He just really deserves his pride as a coach as well. Really helped David Wright learn the ways of hitting. I remember one news story in 2010. David Wright actually took the winter to go down to Florida and work with HoJo personally at his residential estate to better his hitting. And David Wright, still pound for pound the best Met to come out of the farm system. He's been a long time Met, and I love that. And HoJo had a big thing to do with it. And Kevin Burkhardt last year, 2014, while the Mets had a road trip in Seattle for an interleague series, Burkhardt actually talked to HoJo, and I had this exclusive interview clip, and such a humble man, such a respectful human being. Listen to this clip as he talks about coaching, being a coach to great players, as well as talking about David Wright.
So, Howard, when you come to the Mariners organization and dig in and get to the minor leagues first, what's your impressions first time, and how do you bring your philosophy into a new place?
Well, I think, Kevin, the biggest thing is, coming into this organization, I noticed the players right away. There's a lot of really good players in that system. And, the philosophy as far as what I like to do, it just seemed to mesh. And that was the thing that, right away it kind of connected, with the Seattle. They try to be aggressive and we want the hitters to, get on the fastball early and they were really open, let me kind of do what I wanted to do and it just fit right in very nicely.
Well, you're talking about talented players. How about getting to work with Cano? What has impressed you the most about being around him and what he's able to do?
He's way better than I ever anticipated. I mean, for a guy of his stature, that you think that, a guy, Robbie Cano with the New York Yankees and the championships and all that, all the numbers that he put up, to see him every day, now, especially in this ballpark, pretty much not worry about the power numbers as much as he wants to hit, 330, 340, sure, and driving his 100 runs that way and just be a good teammate, with what we got going on. It's tremendous. I mean, I don't know where a guy like Kyle Seager would be without Robbie around him every day. And Robbie has done a really nice job of reaching out to the younger players and just being a part of the group.
Before I let you go do your thing, no one knows David Wright better than you.
Yep.
What do we expect from David going forward? We know 10 years are in the books.
Yeah.
You're a humongous part of that. What is David Wright the next 5 years for the New York Mets?
Well, I think he's going to reach another level that, it's going to be beyond the numbers. I think it's just going to be what he can add to the younger players that are coming up through the system. Whether or not they keep a Daniel Murphy around, those guys, Duda, the security blanket that he provides, I think that's good. And hopefully, the team is able to add pieces here and there so he could just be a part of that and not have to feel like he has to do it all himself. So I think that, he's already relaxed, but I think he'll reach another level where the game will really become more fun again.
Yeah. And
he won't feel any kind of pressure at all to have to carry a team.
Howard, great seeing you. Best of luck in the second half of the Mariners.
Thank you very much, Kev. Appreciate it.
Before we go, Nick, I did want to ask your opinion on the induction tomorrow, because this will be up late tonight. The induction tomorrow of Number 20 from the New York Mets, Howard Johnson to the Hardway HQ Hall of Fame. Do you have any...
Who's that again?
He's a baseball player?
The baseball player?
Yes. Do you have anything positive to say about
For what?
For the Mets.
The Mets? That's a team, right?
Yes.
They play baseball, I'm assuming?
I believe so.
Okay. It's Hall of Fame?
Hall of Fame, Hardway HQ.
Like a baseball hall?
No, Hardway HQ.
Hardway HQ has a Hall of Fame?
Yeah, Tony's in it.
Oh. Is that that's a thing now?
Yeah, it's a thing.
Can anybody get in this Hall of Fame? How's that work?
Most likely.
I don't, like, what's next? So, who are the future potential recipients of the honor? Like, where does...
I'm trying to think about putting in Cosmic for McDonald's.
Where does the line start and end? Like, I'm just...
So the line starts at underrated people and things that deserve the props they deserve.
Oh, the line starts there? So where does it end?
Ends wherever I feel like.
It ends at the janitor that cleans up the bathroom on the 3rd floor of South River Middle School.
Yeah, Jose's gonna get in. Jose will get in soon.
God damn it, John.
Got anything to say about HoJo? Anything?
No, I don't, because I don't know the man or his repertoire. Congratulations for making it in the Hall of Fame.
That's all I wanted.
Okay.
So just say it one more time.
No, thank you.
Can you say congratulations making the Hall of Fame one more time? HoJo?
Could I say that? Yes, I could. Will I? Probably not.
Well, this is going on the podcast tomorrow.
Look for that isolated audio tomorrow.
Well, that is from the February 10th edition of Hardway HQ's Nick and John live in New Jersey. Caught Nick off guard. Nick's not a real sports guy, but I had him say congrats to Howard Johnson for making the Hardway HQ Hall of Fame. And I know there are going to be some people that are asking me, what's my all-time favorite Howard Johnson memory? That memory is simple. I remember watching 1986 video yearbook of the Mets as they were on their long, illustrious run to the 1986 World Series, beating Boston Game 7, the whole shebang. One moment in particular, it was the game against Cincinnati in the summer of '86, and it was a brawl between Ray Knight and Eric Davis, and people were ejected. It was late in the game. There were multiple ejections. The Mets had one less position player, so they kept switching between Jesse Orozco and Roger McDowell to pitch to the batters. Well, in this game, it was 3-3 going into the top of the 14th when HoJo came through big. And although I really regret not being able to catch the Tim McCarver call of the home run, I have something even better. I have the Ralph Kiner call, ladies and gentlemen. Check this thing out. Exclusive on the Hardway HQ Hall of Fame induction of Howard Johnson.
2-2 to Johnson with 1 out and 2 on. And he hits it deep to right field. Parker going back. It's Tater time. This ball's out of here. Howard Johnson with a 3-run home run in the top of the 14th inning off Ted Power. And the Mets lead 6-3.
Well, we'll look at it again. It's a hanging slider, just right perfectly. Thrown for a home run, and that's what they got. Johnson taking that ball over the left field fence, his 6th. Over the left field fence, his 6th home run.
Well, ladies and gentlemen, before I close things out here, I want to read a quote. Trying to sneak a fastball by HoJo is like trying to sneak sunshine past a rooster. That is a quote from the radio great, the late great Bob Murphy, describing Howard Johnson, and that's how I've always seen HoJo. Was HoJo the greatest baseball player of all time? No, but he was, in my opinion, one of the most underrated great Mets of the modern era, and HoJo never got his due. I've always felt HoJo should be in the Mets Hall of Fame just by still being in the top 10 of Mets statistics alone. And this gentleman has deserved an opportunity. And I tried pushing it through the change.org petition website. and it didn't go through the way I wanted. So I said, you know what, I'm going to put HoJo in the Hardway HQ Hall of Fame. And here we are today, February 11th, 2015. Howard Johnson being immortalized in the Hardway HQ Hall of Fame shindig. This man deserves it. He's always deserved it, and he is always the consummate professional from all accounts. He's made a great influence on my life, and I really hope Howard Johnson enjoys this induction and celebration of his career, at least with the Mets, as a member of the New York Metropolitans. He deserves it more than anyone, and I want to state, Howard Johnson, we do have a Hardway Hall of Fame trophy we would like to give to you, send to you. I know it's going to be a long shot. You most likely don't want anything to do with it or us, but on behalf of every Met fan who's appreciated what you've done to the Mets organization, congratulations, you are in the Hardway HQ Hall of Fame, and it's great to have one of my childhood heroes inducted at this very date, at this very time, this very place, and I'm happy to have the opportunity to bring it to you through Hardway HQ. Thank you very much for everything you've done. You've been a great inspiration. Thank you, Howard Johnson. We're going to close things out here on the Hardway HQ Hall of Fame episode of Howard Johnson by playing his introduction to the 1989 All-Star Game. Played in Anaheim, California. He was a starting third base in that game. We're going to close things out. Thank you, Howard Johnson, for everything. And I hope you appreciate the work of a diehard fan. Congratulations, Howard Johnson. You are now immortalized in the Hardway HQ Hall of Fame.
Batting sixth, second in the league with 22 home runs from the New York Mets, number 20, third baseman Howard Johnson.